that encouragement.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Maybe. Bring your microphone over. I don't have mine over either. There we go. At least we trying to act like we know what we doing. There we go. All right. Well, what's going on, everybody? It's your girl, Lady J.
And your girl, LuvLuv.
And this is the Mind His Business Show. Right here on 100.3 FM, Gospel Music Omaha, your favorite station for urban gospel music right here in Nebraska and all around the world as well. You know, you can get us in your car, in your, by your nightstands. You know, some people still have those, what do you call those things? Those clocks that have the radio on them, the alarm clock.
Yes.
See, you should be setting your alarm clock to go off to 100.3 so you can wake up with this good old gospel music in the morning. Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to find, I don't know where I put your headphones. I'm trying to find something. We'll figure it out. Anyway, I hope that your week was blessed, because mine certainly was. I got some weirdo stuff going on with some of our sound tech this week. But I'm doing the best that I can, and that's all anybody can ask, right?
Checkity mic 1 2 1 2.
Exactly. So, in case you've been looking at all the doom and gloom news in the world this week, we're here to give you some encouragement this week. I actually have a bit of a free-for-all this week. I don't even have a specific topic. I'm just going to let the Holy Spirit kind of meander us around to whatever it is that He would have for us.
Yes.
And it's always going to be good if we trust the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
We were just quoting that scripture verse in Proverbs chapter 3. I believe it is. Trust in the Lord and lean not to thine own understanding. Mm-hmm. Acknowledge Him in all thy ways and He shall direct thy paths.
Yes.
That's what we're going to be doing this week, is having Him direct our paths.
He
And
said, in all thy ways. Look, not some of your ways. In
that's
all thy ways.
That's right.
Acknowledge Him and He will. Acknowledge Him. Turn your heart and your attention to Him and He will direct our path. Yes, He will.
So real quick here, a little bit of housekeeping. Number one, that is, you can follow us on our social media accounts at the radio station. It's at Gospel Music Omaha. And this radio show, of course, specifically is at Mind His Business. Last week, I made a goof up, and I told you about our Telegram channels, and then forgot to tell you what the channels were. So there's a social media app out there that's similar to your Facebooks, your Twitters, your, all of those different social media. It's called Telegram. They're a little bit more censorship resistant at the moment, so eventually that net's going to be drawn and that'll go away too. But right now, Telegram is a very good place to get information that you are not going to see on the mainstream news that may actually change your mind and your opinion about some things the way that you've been taught or have been told. And so that's the kind of stuff that if you try to post it on Facebook, they usually censor it or take it down because they don't want the truth to be out there. So if you want to follow us on Telegram, I will give you our main Mind His Business channel, where I do forward a lot of posts, and it's t.me/mindhisbusiness. Now that's the letter T as in Tom, .me like me, like you and me, t.me/mindhisbusiness. So just follow us on Mind His Business, and then you'll see all kind of stuff that you're not being told about on the mainstream media. Now LuvLuv she's got a Telegram channel too, but I think yours is a private Facebook group. I think you got to be invited to be to that one. Yeah, I think you made that one a private group, but I think you got a public group too. We're going to get our act together, and then we're going to tell everybody what your group is next week.
Well, it's the C channel.
Yeah, but you've been posting to your private group.
But it's still the C channel.
Okay.
The C that.
Okay, so she's wanting to promote her public-facing Telegram channel. It's called The C Channel, so TheSeeChannel, The C Channel. So t.me/The C Channel. So you can follow that, and we both share some stuff. Woo, boy, I tell you, you see some of the stuff that we share, you will be like, I had no idea all this stuff was going on.
Just literally cray.
So definitely, if you want the scoop on the stuff that you're not getting anywhere else, Follow us on Telegram. Of course, we have some good recommendations of other channels that you can get information. You're just not going to find it on Facebook. You're not going to find it on YouTube. You're not going to find it on Google. You're not going to find it in all those other places. And that's by design, because they don't want the public really to know what they really have in store for those that they wish to control and enslave, which is all of us, and specifically Christians. But nonetheless, once again, t.me/mindhisbusiness and t.me/the C channel. So if you want to follow us on Telegram, that's really where we post, the real deal stuff right there. Another piece of shout out, I do want to shout out to Sister Arcola. Hopefully she's listening right now. We have had a wonderful acquaintance over the years, and we had a divine appointment this afternoon. So when I woke up this morning, I wasn't planning on going to a certain restaurant. We ended up at this certain restaurant, and when I got there, let me tell you what happened. So first of all, they didn't have what I wanted to order. So I was already disappointed by that. So we went ahead and put in our order, and 5 minutes goes by, we don't get it. You know how you got the little table tent that has your number on it, they're supposed to bring your food to you? Mm-hmm. So 5 minutes went by, didn't have it. 10 minutes went by, didn't have it. 15 minutes went by. I mean, it was over 30 minutes. So I finally went to the...
No, longer than that.
It was over 30 minutes.
I thought it was an hour.
It felt like an hour because I was hungry. But it was over 30 minutes. Okay? And so finally I talked to the, the manager. And so first of all, I got a $20 gift card for my trouble, which that was good. So finally, about 10-15 minutes after that, I got my food. So it took forever. And we weren't even planning on going to this restaurant. We had a choice between two. Now, I'm not calling their name on purpose because I'm not trying to give them a bad review. We had two options we were going to go to. I said, Love, which one do you want to go to? And she said, the second one. And so we went ahead and went there. Took forever to get the food. Finally got the food. We sat and we did one of our little traditions. So you know how some of y'all be going and doing dinner and a movie? Let me tell you what our version of a dinner and a movie is. So I got a tablet, right? Just a regular old tablet, nothing special. And I like to watch my favorite shows on this tablet. And then I got some little old school iPhone. They're not even Bluetooth. They still got the wires. Uh-huh. And so we have to sit next to each other. And I put one in my left ear, and she puts one in her right ear. Yep. And while we're eating our food, we're watching something on the tablet. That's our version of dinner in a movie, y'all.
Right. And you know what? I'm just as happy as a lark.
So we finally do all this, and we are there way longer than we intended to be. And so... I think you were finally getting ready to say, okay, I'm about to go and get me a box and take my leftovers home. And then all of a sudden, Miss Arcola
said, don't I know you?
And from there, it was nothing but love and love and love. So shout out to Miss Arcola.
And it was hard for her to recognize me because I had lost so much weight.
Yeah, she didn't know about your stroke or any of the challenges anything. So
she sure didn't.
So everything, it says man makes the plans, but God determines the steps. And that was a divine appointment. That was such a blessing today. And so that was wonderful. So shout out to Judah Kingdom Church. They have services on Sundays and Bible studies on Wednesdays. And they have prayer service before the Bible study. So, they're serious about the Lord.
Yes.
So shout out to Miss Arcola and Judah Kingdom Church. So I just thought that was a very nice blessing here this week. Let's see what else. As far as housekeeping, not a whole lot. The radio station is going great. Thank you very much for listening. The most important thing that you can do to support us is to, of course, pray for the station. And secondly, to tell people about the radio station. We come across people that know about the radio station, and then we come across some who don't, and we don't have the big advertising campaigns like Sweet 98 or 106.9 or what is that 94.1?
Sure.
Yeah, the Cat 105s and all that. We don't have the big marketing budgets like they do, and we don't have big staff like they do. So the most important way that we can get the word out is through you telling folks that you love and like the station, and that it's playing the type of music that is blessed and anointed and that they want to hear, and that's safe for their kids to listen to, and the whole nine. So the more you share about the radio station, the more that definitely is a support. And lastly, on the housekeeping front, if you are looking for long-term storable food, you're doing a good job already with your canned goods. You got your beans and rice and flour and salt and all that stuff, and you're getting all your canned goods going. But you want something that would last for a really, really long time. Don't forget to check out preparewithladyj.com. That's preparewithladyj.com. It will take you to a website that has a resource to buy long-term storable food. And by long-term, I mean like 20 to 25 years. It's the kind where you can just buy several meals and throw it in your closet, and you don't even have to think about it or anything. And then when it's time, you got some really good options for good tasting food. It's just add water, so it's already pre-cooked, it's already pre-done. You don't have to do anything to it. You just add water, heat it up, and then off you go. So
and for people, you don't really think about, a lot of people don't think about that. I don't think when you get that type of food that you should have water, right, or something to unless you plan on eating it without no water.
Well, but some of these young people, they don't know how to cook, so definitely you want to get because I am a bit of a homesteader, meaning that I'm very interested in going back to the old way, the way it used to be done. Mm-hmm. And the way it used to be done, like back in the day, I mean, you really had to like cook from scratch. Right. Granny knew how to do it, auntie knew how to do it, where you literally could take some flour and some water and turn out some biscuits, or
flour, water, salt, baking powder. There's a few more things.
I was just shortcutting it, but I'm saying you would. The point being, see, why you trying to turn me out like that?
I ain't trying to turn you off. I'm trying to turn you up.
The point being is that the old school way was to be able to cook with just scratch ingredients.
Right.
Like you could take some tomato sauce, some tomato paste, take some oregano and basil, and mix it all together with whatever special love you wanted to put in it, and boom, you got spaghetti sauce. Nowadays, the young folks out there, it's canned spaghetti sauce, and there's absolutely nothing the matter with that. But we're kind of losing. Some of us are kind of losing that old school way of cooking. Where you just really know how to take an ingredient or a series of ingredients from scratch and really make something. So like if I say something like, get you some dry beans and get you some rice, a lot of young folks don't know how to make like red beans and rice from like scratch, from scratch beans and scratch rice. They don't know you got to put that bay leaf in there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So for those of us that are a little less inclined on the cooking front, long-term storable foods that are already pre-packaged, they're already cooked. They have things like macaroni and cheese and chilies and oatmeals and scrambled eggs. They got like all different types of varieties, and all you got to do is just add water. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I be lazy. I admit it. I be making my pancakes with that just add water mix.
Not me. You know how I make my pancakes, homemade. I don't play that. I don't play that box stuff. No.
Now, if I needed to have an apocalypse partner, y'all, let me tell you, LuvLuv would be my apocalypse partner because she knows how to cook from scratch.
Look, I had the stroke and I still know how to cook from scratch. I don't play that.
And let me tell you something else about LuvLuv. She will make a meal out of whatever is in the cabinet. I think yesterday you made. Wait a minute, I'm about to tell on you. Let me tell on you what you made. You said, "Come on in here and eat some breakfast," and I was like, "Okay."
Because I cook breakfast. Aren't you glad I cook breakfast
for
you?
I am.
That's my honey.
Y'all know we're roommates. Y'all know that. Y'all know that we've been besties for over.
Right.
Let's see. 35 years.
I was gonna say we're not supposed to tell our age.
Well, let me tell you what this woman made for me. She made some. We only had like one egg, so we split it. So scrambled eggs, we had like a half of a scrambled egg each, basically.
2 eggs.
What? Don't try to make it better than it is.
It was 2.
Don't try to dress the story up now. So we had these eggs, this one egg, So I had half of a scrambled egg. She had half of a scrambled egg. Somehow she managed to make some deli turkey meat. I don't know if she put it in the air fryer. I don't know if she sauteed it on the stove. I don't know, because I wasn't in the kitchen, y'all. And then on top of that, she put some pepperonis. Now I was a little bit confused. But do you know she sprinkled up some cheese on the top of it, and you would have thought I was at a restaurant, because the presentation was wonderful. The food was delicious. I could taste all the love in the food.
Don't forget the toast now. You know I.
Oh yeah, and the toast.
Okay.
And round it out with toast. The point being is that she knows how to improvise. She knows how to be flexible. She knows how to adapt to the situation. That's the person who you want going with you as these days get dark. Yes. And I think it's important, I kind of feel a topic emerging here.
Yes.
And the topic that I feel emerging here is that it is important to find people that you're equally yoked with. Now, I'm not talking about romantic relationships. Most of the time when pastors speak on don't be unequally yoked, they're talking about like husband and wife and that sort of romantic angle to it. And yes,
and that's good.
And yes, that's very important. Someone really should be on the same page with you spiritually in order for you to build the most intimate and long-lasting bonds with someone. It is important that you're going the same direction spiritually. But I'm not even talking about marriage partners. I'm talking about that whole circle of friends, that circle of trust. Everyone has a circle of trust or a circle of friends. So on your most inner ring, those are the people who are the closest to you. They know you the most.
Favorite four. I call them the top, what we say, top 5, top 4.
Well, some people are lucky to only have one or two people in that most innermost circle. I mean, these are the people that you can bare your soul to and they won't stab you while your belly is exposed. These are the people that you can confide in. These are the people that you trust to have your back when you're down and not just hang around you when you're up. So that inner circle, that inner ring, those people should be totally on the same page with you. Then you have the next rung out. These are people that you are friends with and you are close to, but they don't have that same level of access or intimacy to you. So they may be maybe some of your high school classmates that you came up with, for example, that you're still close to this day. People that you've networked with that are close to you, that know you more than just casually. People that you can call if you have a need, but not necessarily like if you need to crash on their couch or ask them for money maybe, but but they're close to you in other ways. Maybe they give you good advice, or people that you have common interests with. So that's your next ring. It's a little farther out than your intimate in the bullseye in the center. They're a little farther out. Then you have your acquaintance ring, and those are people who you are friendly with, but not necessarily friends with. Maybe you wouldn't tell them your secrets, but you do enjoy going bowling with them, or you do enjoy taking the girls' trip or whatever. And you're not necessarily telling them, the most important details of your life, but you have a very good rapport with them. And then you have your outer circle outside of that. Those are people that maybe you've met, but you don't have much experience with. And then further out than that, those are people that you don't know. Maybe there are people who know you because of social media, but you don't necessarily know who they are. So as you get closer to the center of that circle, it becomes more important that you're on the same page, that if you're a believer, they need to be a believer. If you are, there are certain things, I'm trying to be careful here, because it doesn't you don't necessarily have to believe all the same things, like politically. You don't necessarily have to believe all the same things with some of the non-essential doctrines. Maybe one of your best friends thinks it's a pre-trib rapture and you think it's a post-trib rapture, that sort of thing. That doesn't need to divide you from being very close to each other. But things like, is Jesus divine? Is he the only means to salvation? Like that stuff right there, those are the non-negotiables of the faith. we gotta believe that Jesus is the only way to the Father. We have to believe that he was fully God, fully man, that he died, he was buried, he did rise again for the remission of our sins, and that it is only by grace through faith alone that we are saved and not of works. Now, if we believe and agree on those things, we can be flexible about some of the other things. Whether or not your closest friends are Democrats or Republicans, whether or not they are for BLM or against BLM, or, I don't know, I'm just throwing things out here. Some of those things can be, you can give a little more latitude. But as your circle gets closer, you would like to think that those people may have differing personality styles, but that they're on the same page with their worldview and with their outlook on things. Those are the kind of people you want in the foxhole with you when the bullets are flying overhead. Those are the people that, your apocalypse partner, right? That's the one that, man, if we got to go and hide out somewhere, I know that we're gonna make sure that we have each other's best interests at heart. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic partner. That's kind of my point, is that it's not about that. Some of you have had your day ones since day one. Y'all been friends since kindergarten.
A spoon coon.
Yeah. Some of us have cousins or family members that we're very close to, that we grew up together. And some of us got play cousins that we're very close to, that we grew up together. So it doesn't have to be a specific type of person, or whether or not this person is a blood relative or not a blood relative. We are all in the family of Christ if we're believers. And so you might be surprised to find that the person that you were close to, as you're progressing in your faith, maybe that person is not as close to you as you thought they were. Or maybe your paths are starting to diverge a bit, where you were walking along the same path for a while, but now your paths may be going different ways, and that's okay. What do they say? Some people are in your life for a season, and some people are in your life for a reason,
lifetime, and some people for a lifetime. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's okay for seasons to change, and maybe the friends that you had when you were younger, maybe they're not the same people that you should have in your inner circle when you're older. So you got your inner circle, your main circle, your outer circle, and then just the people that, either don't know you or haven't yet met you and know all of the wonderful things that are you. So, but yeah, I'm going to keep you as my apocalypse partner, because you know how to cook from scratch, and you will make a meal out of...
No meal.
Okay? Well, all we got here is a edge crust of some bread. And let's see, I got a little bit leftover hamburger from last night that's back here in the back of the refrigerator. Let's see what else I got. Well, I got a little bit of cornstarch, a little bit of flour. Do you know this woman will make me a Swedish meatball out of that? And I guess that's enough. Hey, it's a compliment.
And they said this was after the stroke.
You'd have found some sour cream. It didn't happen to be spoiled, so you got lucky. Actually, you'll find some powdered milk and turn it into some sour cream.
Sure
now,
will.
I've seen you.
Yeah.
I've seen you turn powdered milk into some sour cream before.
Some concoctions.
Man, I was like, what kind of hoodoo, sorcery? I said, what? Now, I'm not even a a witchcraft person, but I said, oh my goodness, how did you do that? It was nothing but I think you took some, it was some, that dried milk, like the powdered milk.
Yeah.
You had some powdered milk and some water, and then you put some stuff in when my back was turned. I don't know what it was. And then you started mixing. And next thing I know,
we have stew.
Man,
we have some
I'm
stew.
here to tell you. So I do want to encourage you, if you're an older man or an older woman and you know how to cook from scratch, please teach your granddaughters, grandsons, nieces, nephews. Please pass those things along. If you are an older person that used to be in the garden or on the farm, please teach your nieces, nephews, granddaughters, grandsons what you know. Let's pass on that tribal knowledge down to the next generation, because this generation is so dependent on technology that if the technology were to go away, either through a cyber attack or an EMP, both of which are very real possibilities, how would most of us survive if we didn't have electricity and internet and screens to look at and YouTube to get directions? Now, I'm gonna admit it freely. I'll be going to YouTube University on everything. Just about anything I want to know, I'll be like, let me go see if it's on YouTube. And sure enough, I'll find it. But what happens if the internet goes down and I can't go and look on YouTube to figure out something? It was so bad. Let me tell you a testimony. And this is my story.
I liked your dad making the stretch eggs.
Oh yeah, that was one of the first things I learned how to cook. Man, that's the only way I like it. Well, not the only way. That's one of the main ways I like eating scrambled eggs. So true story. This is not made up. My father was a cook in the Air Force. That meant that he could cook for like hundreds of people all at once. So he knew how to do big, large-scale cooking. So in my household, my mother pretty much did the day-to-day cooking and meals. And let me tell you, my mom is so phenomenal. She gonna be another one of my apocalypse partners. Woo. Because she can organize like nobody else's business. Any organization skills I got it from both of my parents, but I really see it more so in her than him. Both of them were very organized. Because my father was in the Air Force, of course he was very organized, very regimented. His closets were always not coordinated, but they were orderly. When I went into his what they call it, the man cave, his workshop, all of his tools were labeled and orderly. So my father was very orderly. My mother was very orderly when it came to managing and running and administrating a household that had 5 children in it. So my mother did the day-to-day cooking, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She would write out the menus for the month. She would budget the money directly toward those menu items, and she would cook according to the recipes that she had selected. But she cooked largely from scratch. Because remember, when I was coming up, I am a little bit older. This was pre-microwave. So now I'm not that old. I'm not that old, but I am old enough to remember. I remember growing up without microwaves. When I was a child, I think I didn't see our first microwave until I was probably in my early teens when we got our first microwave. And I said, well, who would want to use that? I just want to cook some hot dogs. It ain't nothing to boil some water on the stove and throw a hot dog in and let it boil, right? This is my thinking as a young teenager. And then here comes this microwave, and it's like, what? You telling me I can just put it in the microwave and it'll just 3 minutes later it's good to go?
Not the 3 minutes.
Or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the 20
you know what
seconds.
I mean? So she cooked from scratch, and she cooked from recipes. But my father, he had the gift of his mother, my grandmother. And boy, I tell you, she knew how to put stuff together. Like, she could pick anything in the cabinet. You give her any random ingredients, anything random, she could make the best meals from scratch out of anything. She knew. You know how some people know how to do a dash of this and a pinch of that and a touch of this? She had that gift, and she passed it along to my father. So he would do all the big meals like Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner. So he did all the big occasion meals, and then she did the majority of the day-to-day meals. And that was they had a team as it related to food, but both of them knew how to cook from scratch. So I got the good fortune of learning at least the basics of how to cook from scratch. I can feed myself. I know how to fry something. I know how to boil something. I know how to bake something. I know how to saute something. I'm still, as old as I am, trying to perfect gravy. Good Lord, gravy is an art, man.
I be killing it. Clink, 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 clink.
You're the only person I know that can make I don't know how you do it.
No lumps.
I don't know how you do it. Mine is always either I got too much flour, or too much roux, or too much butter, or too much oil, too much something, or either it's too much lumps or something. But I'll be messing up gravy, and I'm old as I am. And you know how many times I have made sauces and gravies, and they just, I just don't have that touch, y'all. It's just not my lane. But both of my parents were able to cook from scratch, so they passed that knowledge down to me. Now, don't ask me to cook something like deep down south. Like, don't ask me to cook no crawfish. Don't ask me to cook, none of that kind of stuff. I don't do all that. Yeah, I don't do all that. But, like, I know how to feed myself, and I know how to cook from scratch. But now, LuvLuv, on the other hand, you have the gift. You truly have. I see my grandmother when I watch you cook. I see my grandmother, my grandma Nita, when you cook like how she cooked, where you can just look at what's in the cabinet and your imagination says, oh, well, if I put this and this and this and this, and then on top of all of that, you have an eye for presentation on top of it all. So not only is it flavor, but it's presentation. To me, you and my father and my grandmother before him cook like jazz musicians. My mother and me, oh boy, she here with warm fuzzies. Okay, try not to drop too many tears because I'm giving you compliments.
I didn't.
Okay, but I know you want to.
Yes,
I can see it.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
But now, my mother and myself, we kind of cook like classical musicians, where if you give us the sheet music, we can play it exactly according to the sheet music, and it's gonna sound great because we're following the notes exactly as they are written on the page. Now, that's my mother and that's me. If you give us the recipe, it's gonna taste great because we know how to follow directions. But my father, my grandmother, and LuvLuv cook like jazz musicians, where you give them the general theme of the song. So when you're listening to jazz, you get the general theme of the song, the general direction of the song. But then there's all of this improvisation that's going on, and there's this communication between the different instruments, and there's like you can play the same jazz song, but it will never sound the same from each time you play it. It's a whole new experience. Though it is the same song, it is a different experience each time you play it because of the improvising that happens. You cook like a jazz musician.
Wow, that's deep.
And so did my father, and so did my grandmother. Really deep. And so
that's deep.
I'm going to keep you because you are providing some value in the apocalypse. At least we won't starve.
Right. Facts.
And it'll be halfway good.
Facts.
So.
Facts.
So changing topics a little bit, we were talking about this earlier this week. Actually, before I launch into that, what's been on your mind this week?
Well, I have been, as a lot of people know, I've been, and maybe you don't know, I had somebody say, no, you didn't have a stroke. I'm like, yes, I did.
Just because I don't look like what I've been through don't mean nothing happened.
Right. So, just so everybody know, I'm 5 months stroke, where I had a stroke, and the stroke that I had was very rare. However, I didn't let that stop me. I said I'm gonna keep on going, and I had some issues there, and thank God you're still my best friend. That's how I know she's my best friend, because she's gonna be like, I'm out of here. She got too many phobias. I'm gone. But you know what? You've been there, and you are definitely, I can say you are a friend that's been sticking closer to me than a brother. You are my sister, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of your gifts and your talents, and most of all, your patience. You don't know, because y'all, she could have just thrown me to the wolves. Like, I ain't got time for all this mess.
Huh? Get out of here.
I ain't got time for all this mess. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nah, you're not going nowhere.
But I sure do thank you. And I just wanted to say what was on my mind this week was a lot of tragedies are going on in different cities. And it seems like it's not being televised. The outages, all of the different things that are happening, they're acting like it didn't happen. Oh, no, that didn't happen. No, there was no explosion. Didn't I just see and hear a... No, you didn't hear that. You didn't see that. But it seems like there are a lot of things that are being hushed and that are not being televised. And I was wanting to know if you could really expound on that a little bit.
I am not trying to put these people up underneath more fear that the media is already trying to stir up.
Not fear mongering, but I think it would be sign mongering. Can I say that? Sign of the times. It's important to discern the times, and that's basically where I've been understanding that, you know, you don't even have to look at the sun. You don't even have to feel the snow. Usually there's a ton of snow by now. Come on now. We usually are up to here with some snow in Nebraska. But it seems like even the temperatures, everything seems to be hotter. Have you been noticing that?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that nothing is business or as usual or day in and day out as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Things have changed. So when those things have changed, we need to change right along with them. Some people, I don't care. I'm gonna stay the same, and okay, and you can stay the same if you want to, and you can just away and go meet the Lord and Savior real quick, and it's not even about that as much as it is about understanding who your trust lies in, because these can also be a lot of scary times for people because they don't understand and they do have some fear and trepidation about the coming days,
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about fear mongering, we shouldn't fear, but we should put our hope and our trust in the Most High. That's
Mm-hmm.
important, to not put your trust in anything that we can do, anything that we can say. Thank you, I see that. So that we know that He truly is the one in control. And we may not be able to know everything, but there are some things that we can know, and there are some things that we can do. What are some things we can start making sure that we have a backup supply of food? How many have you thought about how much food you have for how many days and things of that nature, in case you didn't have any water, or in case you didn't have any access to food. What is your backup plan? Is it, I don't care, and if I just die, I just die? Is that what that is? Is that really what it is? So learning how to be prepared. And I thought about the ant.
Mm-hmm.
How the ant, they store up during, if you will, during the wintertime. Or should I say, in the spring they store up, so that when wintertime comes and they're underground, or they are still functioning. Have you ever wondered, how do the insects and things continue to live?
No, because I just want them to be dead. No. Okay, let me stop playing. Although your grandson got freaked out and almost had
we don't want to talk about Bam Bam, no.
Man.
Oh my goodness.
He had a little tiny ant that crawled on his hand, and you would have thought somebody just
remember
got done breaking his arm.
Remember I came in there? I thought Boom Boom did something to him.
He was screaming bloody murder. I'm like, what happened?
I said, Boom Boom, did you do something to him? Boom Boom was looking like,
he's like, it's an ant. It's an ant.
No, he didn't say it was an ant.
Yeah, he said he was an easy weensy.
Easy
weensy spider.
Right, he said it. So I'm looking for a spider, and I'm scared of spiders. So I jumped up. I jumped up on something, and I was like, where is it at? Where is it at?
Man.
And then we saw it.
Come to find out, it was a little old tiny ant.
Oh, he was screaming bloody murder like it was really like D-Day.
So, of course, I had to teach him, if ever that happens, that startled you, didn't it? It was surprising. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. You don't have to cry. It's okay. It was surprising. It's okay that you did cry, but in the future, if something like that happens, you just got to kill it. And so he felt more confident after that. What?
If you just wanted to kill the ant, huh? You just wanted to commit murder like that.
Well, if it's going to crawl on his hand.
Put him on, but he wouldn't want to be put out in the cold either.
But that's the passage that you're bringing up is the passage that we've covered that before. Where it talks about consider the ant. It's in Proverbs. I think it's Proverbs. Yeah, Proverbs 6:6.
A lot of people say, I don't need to store up. I don't need this. That ain't doing nothing but hoarding. No.
Well, let's do.
People don't know the difference between that and hoarding. I mean, because somebody
No.
said, "Are you hoarding?" Huh?
No, hoarding is like when you keep things that have no value and you have no future purpose for them. So, like if you still holding on to newspapers from 1993, and it's not because you are doing a clipboard album or trying to have newspaper clippings, but you just don't want to throw them away, but you got papers and papers and papers stacked up everywhere, but they have no use for anything.
Because you're thinking that you might need them.
Other than other than for
Right.
some emotional reason, that would be hoarding. But preparation is something that every believer should do. So the difference between hoarding and preparation is, let's say, for example, you're going to travel from Omaha to Los Angeles, California. Preparation is you doing the calculation to say, well, how many days is it going to take? How much food am I going to need? How much water will I need? How many rest stops am I going to have to take? How much gas am I going to need? Making sure that my car can drive that far, so getting my car maintenance.
Isn't that where the word comes from? Preparation?
Well, yeah, it's a short form for that. But preparation is making sure that you got a week worth of food, a week worth of water, you've got enough money to make the trip and pay for your gas, that you have your car in good order. Those things are preparation. If you got 7 days worth of food in your car, that's not hoarding because you have a purpose and a plan for what it is that you have. Hopefully that makes sense. Hoarding would be, well, I'm just going to keep all of these orange peels after I ate them because I feel emotionally attached to them and I don't want to throw them away. And so you've got 18 jugs full of orange peels, and it's not like you're using them to make a tea or to put them in compost. You just don't want to throw them away because you have some sort of strange emotional attachment to them. That's hoarding. It's not hoarding to prepare to say, if I have a family of 4 and I need to have a year worth of food prepared in case we get snowed in or society collapses like it did during COVID, and I want to make sure that we're not going to be the ones trying to run to an empty grocery store. That's not hoarding. That's mitigating your risk for an uncertain future to make sure that you and your family have what you need for however long you think the duration is going to be. Even the United States government and FEMA recommend that you have 72 hours to 7 days worth of supplies at any given time in case there is a tornado or a flood or a blizzard or the power gets knocked out or some sort of issue. Even the government recommends that. And that just makes sense. So that's not hoarding. But now let me go over to, Proverbs chapter 6. And see, I hadn't even quoted any Bible verses really. I did quote one, but people be mad if I don't put no verse on there at all. Let's see. Okay, so Proverbs chapter 6. Let's do this one today. My son, if you be surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. And you say, what? Can you just say that in plain English, please? I sure can. Let me give you the Lady J translation. My son, if you co-sign for your friend, that's what it means when it says if you be a surety for thy friend. That means to be a co-signer. Some of y'all out here co-signing your friends' cars, and you co-signing their first apartment, and you co-signing. You're not supposed to be that.
That's what the surety means.
That's what it means. So if you are a co-signer for your friend, or if you have stricken thy hand with a stranger, that means you make a deal with somebody that you don't know very well. So when you strike, or it says, if thou hast stricken thy hand, that means if you shake hands with a stranger. That means if you make a deal with somebody and you don't know their background, you don't know their situation, you don't know if they're a thief, a pedophile, a criminal, you don't know nothing, and you go making deals with them, or if you become a co-signer for your friend. So it says if you're a co-signer for a friend, or if you go into business with someone that you really don't know that well, you're going to be snared by the words of your mouth and taken by the words of your mouth. Now, the reason why it says words of your mouth is because back then they took oaths or vows seriously. So when it says snared with the words of your mouth, that means if you made a vow or made a deal to be a co-signer or go make some sort of deal, you're obligated by what you've done. In modern times, when you co-sign for a car, let's say you met this girl and you just head over heels in love with her, and you decide that y'all want to get a car, and you say, okay, I'll co-sign for you because she telling you my credit ain't that good, but if you just help me, if you just co-sign for me, then we can have this nice car and we'll both be driving in this nice looking car. And because you're head over heels and you want to get the cookie or whatever, you decide you co-sign. In modern society, it's not just you giving your word for it. You actually sign a contract that states that this car loan, you are the co-signer on that loan. And she gonna make all them promises too. I promise I'm gonna pay the payments. I just need you to be the co-signer so I can get good enough credit to be able to get the car. And you thinking, oh, she's so fine and I want to be with her. So there you go co-sign. About month number 2 or 3. Well, baby, I can't make the payment this month because fill in the blank, yada yada whoop-de-woo. And now before you know it, the car is behind on payments, and it's not just going to mess up her credit, but it'll mess up your credit as well. So we should not be co-signing for folks. Same thing, it goes the other way around. Your son is coming to you saying, Mama, I want to get this apartment, but I just need you to co-sign, for me to get this apartment. They won't give it to me on my own because I don't make enough money and I don't have enough good credit. If you could just co-sign, though, they said they'll let me in if you co-sign for me. And Mama, don't do it. Because if he doesn't have the money to pay for it on his own, and he's not working a steady enough job to have the 3 times the rent income that they're asking for, he's not going to have the money to pay that rent every month. And guess who's going to be stuck on the hook for either paying that rent or either breaking the lease and messing up your credit and messing up your situation.
And sometimes they have the money, but they spend it on other things.
So
controlled substances, weed, all other kind. Am I telling the truth or not?
You're not wrong.
If half of you would stop smoking that weed, okay, really, I mean, do something, simmer down on it or something, they would have enough money to pay for a lot of things.
So going back to the verse, Proverbs chapter 6, my son, if you be a surety for your friend, or you co-sign for your friend, or if you go into deals with someone that you don't know, you're gonna be caught up by the commitment that you've made. Is basically what it's saying. And the same thing is true for like investments. If somebody comes to you and they're like, oh man, I got this investment and I guarantee it's gonna make you money and it won't fail. There have been so many scams in our churches, in our black churches. Because I am black, I can talk about the black church. There have been several scams that have been run on believers in churches because people use that Christian calling card to say, come invest with this land deal with me, or come invest in this crypto with me, or come invest in this whatever it is. And because they're in the church, you think that you can trust that person because they also attend church. Well, that's essentially striking your hand with a stranger, because just because they're saying they're a Christian does not mean that you can't get scammed by them. And that includes the pastor. I can think of, I ain't gonna call nobody out specifically because God knows how to do what God does. But I can think of at least one church in particular, and probably about 2 or 3 that have been saying they're gonna have this building fund, and they've been collecting money on this building fund for years and years and years. Ain't seen no new building, ain't seen no progress. But every week or every month they asking their members to invest in this building fund. That is like striking your hand together and making a deal with a stranger, because if they're not showing you the finances, they're not showing you the books, they're not showing you what is being done with the finances, they're telling you you're sowing into good ground. That's the kind of terminology that they use. You need to sow into this good ground so you can get this harvest and this blessing of this harvest. And it sounds real good. But before you invest large sums of money,
that's just thievery. That's a thief and a robber. Before
you go taking out money on your credit card or getting home equity loans because you just really feel convinced that they're convincing you that God is saying you need to put this money into this thing or that thing. First of all, if you're being pressured to go into debt to do anything that God needs, God don't need debt. Bible says that God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills.
Yes.
God is the one that created.
And they in somebody's freezer right now.
God is the one that created value. He's the one that created gold and silver. Do you really think that he wants you to go into debt, to be the borrower to the lender, just because some pastor told you that you needed to stretch? Because that's how they do it. They manipulate by saying, you just need to stretch. I know you got a little more and you can do it. And before you know it, you're taking out mortgages on your home, or you're taking out lines of credit, or you're doing all these things to sow into this. That's basically striking hands with a stranger. Before you do that, you should be asking at a minimum, first of all, I need a contract for how I'm going to get my investment back. Number one. Number two, I need transparency to see where the money is going at all times. I should be able to inspect the books. And if it's a church, they should not be afraid to have open books for you to understand what it is that's going on with the church.
But we should also show them how to solve the situation.
Well, how to solve it is to not invest money that you don't have or can't afford to lose.
But let's say that you've done it. Let's say that you have invested money that you didn't have, or money that you did end up losing. Say it became something bad and now you are in turmoil. What should you do about it? Okay? Number one is to see it for what it is. Number one, you upset. You look at and you say, okay, I'm upset about this. Okay, what do I do to solve this issue? One of the things is you can pay it back in little increments if they'll allow you to. You can ask for forgiveness. Did you know that they have forgiveness loans? Did y'all know that? So you can also, and I know this is very difficult, most people try to avoid the people that they owe. And
the quickest way to get rid of somebody is to lend them some money. Because you won't never see them again.
They're gone. They're gone.
Because as soon as you start saying, can you pay me back that money that I lent you? They're gonna avoid you like the plague. So if there's somebody you want to get rid of, just lend them some money.
Yeah, or they tell you to promise, to promise to do this, to promise to do that.
Right. So if somebody comes to you wanting to borrow money, that would also be like striking your hand with the stranger. Don't just give somebody money without something in writing, even if it's your family. I know this is deep. Even if it's your cousin, your son, your daughter, have some sort of formal, I don't care if it's on the back of a napkin, just say, I, Jane Doe, promise to pay Auntie so-and-so, $50 a week for the next 4 weeks. And in exchange, then you're gonna let her borrow $200.
Yeah, because
get that in writing.
Bond. Yeah, because your word is bond. And another thing too is say you owe, $10,000. We're talking about big money now. Okay, there are some people that really literally have gone under, and they can't see their way out. They can't see the light of day. Sometimes it's good because every 7 years, God had a time for the ground to rest. Well, during that time for the ground to rest, he also had it the same thing for people, where every 7 years they would be forgiven for what?
That's called a Jubilee year.
The things that they were owed.
Well, we don't operate under the Jubilee system.
And nowadays, it's, it's completely different. But the reason why I'm stating that is because there are some people that running and hiding seems to be the only option, when running and hiding is not the answer. Confronting the situation up front and forward and seeing what you can do is better than thinking, I'm just going to hide from these people or from this situation and I'm not going to pay it any mind or attention. It's not going to go away. So it's good to go to the person and just be honest. At the time, this or that or whatever, what is it that we can do? Okay.
Well, and if you're going to borrow money from somebody, let me hold something. Be honest. If you're not going to pay them back, just be honest about it. Listen,
and say, can I have, not borrow?
Can I have it? Because I'm not going to be able to pay you back for a while, but this will really help me out. I would rather you be honest about that than to promise someone that you're going to pay and then you don't, because that can ruin relationships when you do that, and that's family as well as non-family. But let me keep it pushing here on this. So Proverbs 6 verse 3, do this now, my son, and deliver yourself when you are coming to the hand of your friend. Go humble yourself and make sure thy friend. That means pay, be good to your word on the co-signing is what that meant. So I want to wrap that up. So it says, don't delay on making good on your word if you put your word up to co-sign and get into a situation, because you can ruin both of your credits if you do that. Verse 4, give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyelids. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. What do you think that means? What it means is, don't waste time. Don't give sleep to your eyes nor slumber to your eyelids means you need to stay alert and you need to stay ahead of your situation. If you're running late on your bills, answer the call from the collector. Make a payment arrangement. Make a payment if you owe. Something is better than nothing. Be aware. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. In other words, if you don't make things right with your financial dealings, it's only going to get worse, and it's going to kill you, like how a hunter will kill an animal in the wild, or that a bird will be caught into a net. Now remember, last week we talked about exegesis. So we were talking about how you have to look at the text, the context, the co-text, the culture, and the audience, right? So we see that the topic hasn't changed yet. In verse 1, they were talking about co-signing for people, making financial dealings with people, and you're going to have to stay true to your word, and that if you don't deliver yourself right away, then it can be a snare to you. A lot of us ignore our debts because we're anxious about them, or we're embarrassed by them, or we feel disgraced or ashamed that we weren't able to, maybe we had good intentions to pay, but then life happened and got in the way. Some things happened that we didn't plan, and now we're in a situation that is financially uncomfortable. All of us have gone through that. Even rich people go through that. Haven't you ever seen rich people go bankrupt? They go bankrupt all the time. It's not about how much money you have, but it is about being wise with what it is that you have. And that's what this passage here in Proverbs 6 is talking about. That's why it says, hey, do this now and deliver yourself when you got to pay that surety, or you got to pay that cosigner, you got to get out of that debt, or you have to pay back what you owe. It says humble yourself and make sure you're a friend. To make somebody sure means to make them whole or to pay them back. So if you've borrowed some money from somebody, this is saying don't wait to pay them back. Don't make them wait, because they didn't wait when you needed the money. They shouldn't have to wait to get their money back, especially if you have the money. Don't say, well, I'll get it back to them later, but right now, I want this Pepsi and this Coke and this McDonald's meal and I gotta get my hair done or whatever. I'll hit them up in a couple of weeks with my next paycheck. That's what we have a tendency to do, is to delay the repay. We delay the repay. But this is saying that if you owe somebody and you need to make them whole or make them sure, that's what it's saying, pay them back right away. Don't delay. Don't let a debt hang for long periods of time.
And at the least, communicate. And then you must and should communicate.
And if you don't have it, just be honest with them. I don't have the full $100 this week, but if you'll take 20, let me put that in your hand, and then I'll just keep chopping at it until you get it paid. This is how believers should behave, because this is our book. This is our instructional manual of how we should behave as believers. We should not borrow something from somebody and have no intention of giving it back, but we talk them, we give them all kind of sob story. Oh, my baby, you need some diapers, and oh, my light's about to be turned off, and your lights ain't about to be turned off the first, but you want $200 because the concert is coming up. Don't lie about why you need it, and don't delay to repay. So I don't know who this is for, but this is, this is how believers should be behaving based upon our book that we say that we follow. That's why it says in verse 4, give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyelids, and deliver yourself. That means get yourself repaid. Get it repaid, get the debt done right away. So deliver yourself as a roe from the hand of the hunter and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. And then in verse 6, it says, go to the ant, you sluggard. You lazy person. That's what a sluggard is. You slow. Sluggard, sluggish, slow. Consider the ant's ways and be wise. Now remember, we're still in the context of borrowing money, paying money back. Do you do it slow? Do you do it fast? So when it says consider the ant thou sluggard, in context it's saying y'all folks that like to delay the repay, he's saying you're a sluggard because you delay the repay. Get it? You're slow on repaying. So if that's been you in the past, he says, model yourself after the ant. So in verse 6, Proverbs 6:6, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provides her meat in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. Let's go back. Notice in verse 7 it says, the ant has no guide, no overseer, or no ruler. In other words, if you know you need to pay something back, no one should have to take you to court to get you to pay your money back that you owe. Really, when it comes to child support, for example, you really shouldn't even have to have your checks garnished. You and the other parent should be able to work out a financial arrangement, and then you should just be proactive and just pay it and keep all your receipts and all that stuff. This is not about child support. The point is that it should not have to take somebody overseeing or guiding or ruling over you to force you to not delay the repay.
And is it embarrassing? It sometimes can be very painful, very embarrassing, but you need to go to them, and I don't care if they decide to forgive you or if they say pay me $1 every day. It's the idea that you are not running from or shirking, if you will, your responsibility.
That's right. So a lot of the times we use this verse, Proverbs 6:6, go to the ant, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, no overseer, or no ruler, provides her meat in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. We always like to use that to say, store up food and be prepared for bad situations. But really in context, this is talking about if you pre-plan and you budget, because that's what this is saying the ants do. It's saying that ants budget. They provide their meat, which means their food. They provide their food in the summertime, and they gather their food in the harvest. In other words, when things are going good, they make sure that they're not, that they get rid of their past bills as much as they can, or at least make arrangements with the people that they owe, and they don't delay the repay. And they try to do better at having the discipline and the budgeting to set things aside when things are going good, so that they know that when things, when winter time comes, they've got what they need, so that they don't have to keep going back to auntie and having her dip into her 401k just to survive for another month on the rent. So you want to get ahead of it. That's what this is saying. If you're the sluggard, which means you have a delay the repay mentality, he's saying look at the ant and consider how the ant does it. The ant doesn't need to be told to pay things back and to prepare for what's coming up next. So that's the message from that. It says, how long will you sleep, O sluggard? When will you arise out of thy sleep? That means you're delaying the repay, and it's as though you're sleeping because you ain't paying attention to your responsibilities. It says in Proverbs 6:10, yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, so shall thy poverty come as one that travels, and thy want or your lack as an armed man. So if you are not diligent to pay what you owe and prepare it for your future so you don't have to keep borrowing from folks, whether it's a friend or a stranger, if you don't do what is necessary to prepare and budget those things and to get out from those petty debts that you have, it says poverty is going to come for you like somebody who travels, and your lack is going to come at you like an armed man. When someone's got a gun pointed at you, you can't do nothing but whatever they say. And that's what it's like when you're under the enslavement of debt, is that now you can't go and take that vacation. Now you can't get that new car. Now you can't leave the job to get a different job because you have to now pay this person back, and now, like an armed man, they're not going to wait. So I'm gonna let you push that so we can continue. I get it.
Thank you. Low. We're gonna do the low. Oops, you went off.
Yeah, I just turned off the notification.
I wanted to push low so that it wouldn't cut us off.
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry. Well,
It's
we're
okay.
about done here anyway. So I don't know who that. Hopefully that was something that's encouraging to you. I'm trying to think if I owe anybody money right now. I think I owe my mama some money, but
Well.
but I'll tell you one of the things that whenever I borrow money from my mother, which is not very often, but on occasion I have had to ask her for like something in an emergency that was just beyond my ability to handle. That was not a part of my normal situation.
Oh, and this includes advice too. Mm-hmm.
This is what I have done when it comes to my mother. I have a job that has direct deposit. Most of us do nowadays. What I did was I got her routing number and account number, and I literally have a portion of my check literally go into her bank account from my paycheck. I never see the money. It goes directly to her, and that is how I pay her back. So if I owe, let's say I owe her, I don't know, $600, right? I'm saying this for easy math. Let's say I owe my mom $600. Well, if I agree to have my paycheck send her $50 twice a month, I have 2 paychecks a month, so it sends her $50, and then it sends her $50 on the next paycheck. Okay, that's $100 that she got from me for the month, and then I just do that for 6 months until she's paid up. The nice part about that is it goes directly from my employer directly into her account. I never see it. I never touch it. So there's no way I can forget to give her the money. Sometimes we like to delay the repay. It makes it impossible for me to delay the repay because she gets it before I ever see it or touch it. So that's one of the ways that maybe if you owe somebody and it's a family member, I wouldn't do that for a stranger. But if it was a family member that you feel confident about, you could do that with your direct deposit. That might be an option. Because, if you don't ever get the money, you don't really miss the money, because it's different when, like, you see the money in your bank account and then you got to go, oh man, I got to give my mama $50. Dang, I wanted to go out to the club. I don't know. Should I do the club? Should I give my mama $50? And then half the time we be going to the club and then she don't get her money, and we shouldn't be doing our mama like that, y'all. So.
Yeah, and this is for people who have something on paper and for people who don't have anything on paper, because there is someone that sit high and understands everything low, and that's the Most High. He knows if you said that you would do something and you didn't do it. So the best thing is to go to that person and say, hey, look, tell them what the circumstance is, the situation is, and then go from there. But the idea is not to run from the situation, but to hit it head on, really. And I know it can be scary because they might like, oh, I know what will work. Breaking them ankles, breaking them knees,
Pop some kneecaps,
popping kneecaps, putting you in a neck sling.
And I'm gonna say just one more thing on this topic before we close out today, and that is, if you're on the side of it where you're the lender, like somebody asks you to borrow money, let's say somebody come to you with a sob story and they need their electrical bill paid, right? Instead of giving them $200 in cash and trusting that they're going to actually do it, I encourage you, if you really want to help them, pay the electrical company directly. Mm-hmm. So you go with them down to OPPD and you put the money on, or either you do it online, however you do it. But don't put cash in their hand. Pay the bill itself, or write the check in the name of OPPD. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That way, if they're really serious about needing help with their OPPD bill, for example, and you feel, you have it, it's not going to put you out to lend it or to give it, but you want to keep them accountable to it, just pay OPPD directly. Don't put the cash in their hand. And what you'll find is, if they're giving you a sob story and they're not being honest about what they want the funds for, if you say, okay, give me your account number for OPPD and I'll put $200 on the bill, if it really wasn't about the OPPB, watch their story change. Well, no, you don't have to do that. Just I'm gonna be going up there to OPPB tomorrow, and if you just, just give me the cash, and I promise, I'm telling you, I'm gonna take it up there tomorrow. If you do that, you can forget it. That money's gonna be in the wind. And that also exposes if they're really serious about the help or if they've got some ulterior motive. Because a lot of us who are believers, we get taken advantage of because we're told we're supposed to be nice and we're supposed to be helpful and good Samaritan and don't you want a blessing and don't you love everybody. And we get manipulated a lot of times to give up money that oftentimes we don't even really have, for people who are using it not for the intended purpose that they're telling you. Or they might use some of it for that purpose. Maybe their bill was only $50 and then they take the other $150 and go buy some Jordans with it or something crazy like that. And so they weren't necessarily lying about the OPPD, but they asked for more money than what they really needed because they had other agendas. So one way you can,
those hidden agendas.
Right. So one way you can get around that is if they need a bill paid, oh mom, I'm running late on my rent. Okay, what's the name of your landlord? I'll write the check. How much do they need? And then it goes directly to the landlord. Now, I wouldn't necessarily even recommend doing that because I call it the stray cat syndrome. So if you have a stray cat, if you feed a stray cat, then that stray cat is going to keep coming back day after day after day because now they know they got a resource. Now they know they got a food source, and you'll never be able to get rid of that stray cat, and then they'll be peeing all over your yard and making your yard smell crazy, and then they make loud noises when they're mating, and then just a bunch of crazy stuff. And so you don't really want to attract a stray cat. And it's the same thing if you're lending money to people. If they don't have any means to pay their bill, how are they going to have the means to pay you back? So be careful about lending money, which is what that passage in Proverbs 6 was talking about. If you're going to lend the money, make sure you've got some accountability in place. And if you're going to be the one that borrows the money, do not delay the repay. And if you want to keep a person accountable to what you are giving to them, you can either just give it as a gift, as unto the Lord, and not think about repayment, or you can give it directly to whatever bill it is that they say they need it for. That way, if their motives are true, then they'll be okay with that. And if their motives are not true, then that will be exposed. So
another thing is don't hide. Don't hide, and don't be like, I don't even care if it's $1. If you have something, and if you give them whatever it is, that's something, yes, that is an admittance that you do owe the bill. So if they did want to take you to small claims court or whatever, they really could, because that's an admittance that you owed them. You see what I'm saying? So you definitely want to not run. You definitely want to see it for what it is and do your quickest to resolve the issue.
So that's going to do it. That was kind of our free-for-all this week. That was kind of a different kind of topic. So hopefully that blessed you this week. Kind of practical, kind of different. Make sure you join us every Sunday if you want to hear this live. On the live streams, we do take comments, and we talk back and forth with the folks who comment. And then if you miss it on Sunday, we repeat this broadcast during our morning show. So from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., you'll hear repeats of this broadcast throughout the week. So if there was something we said, you're like, oh man, I need to catch that again. I missed that. Tune in the mornings between 7 and 9. So the way we do our morning show is from 7 to 8. We play a portion of this show, and then we repeat that portion of the show from 8 to 9. So if you like to drive to work and you get to work at 8 o'clock, you should be able to catch it at 8 in the morning or before 8. And if your job starts at 9 and you're on the road between 8 and 9, you can catch it between 8 and 9. So we do that all throughout the week. So anything that you missed during the live, you can catch it during our morning show. So this is the Mind His Business show. Don't forget, go to t.me/.